everybody. I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. It's great to have everybody back in the building. Thanks for coming down today and welcome back. Exciting day for us. I'll give you a quick rundown of how things will work today. We'll start with some opening remarks, first from Jarmo, then JD, and then Lars. Then we will turn it over to questions for you folks that are here. And for the folks that are joining via Zoom, if you can be patient, we'll wait till the end and go to questions from you. So again, thanks for being here. Appreciate some of the guys showing up as well. Appreciate that. And I'll turn it over to Jarmo.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is an exciting day, like Todd said, and we went through a very thorough and exhaustive search and interviewed all of the available top candidates in our opinion, and some of them twice, and actually interviewed the guy we know the best 3 times, sitting next to me here, and obviously not about the interview with him. We've known him through the years. We've gotten to know him real well, and we had this term. He was one of the first interviews that we had, and we used this term, the Lars bar, and nobody seemed to get over the Lars bar. And the more and more we thought about it, everything we know about the man, his passion for the game, his work ethic, his attention to detail, his communication skills, and we felt that he was the best choice for us. And it was a clear consensus within our management group. And we took some input from our leaders that are sitting here today, and we couldn't be happier to announce Lars as the new head coach of the Blue Jackets. And I think it's going to be a fresh new voice for us. He's coached for us in the American League as a head coach, and had 2 of the best records that the franchise has ever had in the American League. He doesn't have NHL head coaching experience, but they all started at some point as a head coach, no matter what their record is right now. And we're confident that he's going to be a great head coach for us. I personally have thought from basically the day I met Lars that he's going to be a great head coach in the NHL someday. And we've always believed in promoting from within people that deserve the chance. That's how we try to groom people, not only on the side, but on the management side as well. I'm very proud of the fact that we can groom and offer opportunities to guys that have paid their dues in our organization. That's something that I take very seriously in my work. Last year, 2 of the guys that I hired for their first NHL job got GM jobs. It makes me very proud, and it makes me very proud to promote Brad to our head coach, because he's earned it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Good to see Lars' family here. And to the players, we appreciate you being here. I got in a little late on the process, as I wasn't back working with the Blue Jackets, and was able to sit in and also re-interview a bunch of different candidates for the position. And I think Lars was with us 3 different times and did a great job. And when you think of Brad Larsen, you think of a leader. He was a captain of his junior team in Swift Current. He was a captain in the American League with Portland as a player. He was a captain of a World Junior team for Canada, won a gold medal, the under-20 tournament, which is a fascinating thing. You think of the players that when Brad was a coach with Springfield, I can mention David Savard and Ryan Johansson, Cam Atkinson, Boone Jenner, Matt Calvert, amongst others, that played for Brad and made their way into the National Hockey League and developed very strong, good careers. We wanted character. We knew that wasn't even a question. We've known Lars a long time for that. Other teams did call, trying to get interviews with Lars for open positions around the league, and we found a way to get Brad to stay with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So with that being said, congratulations, big boy. Welcome aboard, and we look forward to getting to work.
Well, thank you. It's been a crazy last day and a half, I guess. whirlwind, and there's a ton of emotion that goes into it. I'd like to sit up here for the first 20 minutes and just thank people. I know it usually in these things, people, that's the boring part when people are listening, but I think it's important. So I'm gonna start first with my family, my wife and kids who are here. I'm not gonna talk long because I will get emotional. So they are the rock. It is so hard as a player, as a coach, the time that you dedicate to your craft, and they're the ones that suffer a lot. So, man, what my wife takes on at home and with my kids, I'm a blessed man. So, thank you guys for everything. Thank you for your support, and I promise to still be a husband and a father. I will not be divorcing you for a job. So, just understand that. To the McConnell family, just having the belief in me. I've been around, but as you know, sometimes you hear, do they need a new voice? I do believe I am that new voice, but I will agree with Yarmo. It was an extensive process, and it grew me as a person, and I had to dig a little deeper here and really reflect on things and how I want to go about my business. JD, Yarmo, Basil, Flinner, Rick Nash, Chris Clark, all in the interview process, just the questions and their support, and the players, obviously, they're the ones that I'm going to be dealing with daily. So it's been huge. A few other people. Earlier in my career, when I got my start there was Chris McFarland and Scott Housen that were here. They gave me my start, and I'm very grateful for that. I was just I wouldn't say young man, a young coach. It was actually nice. I went from an old guy in the American League to a young coach. It was a nice switch. And but they had faith in me and took a crack at me, and was in Springfield with some of the names that JD mentioned. It was a tremendous opportunity and hit the ground running. And Bruce Landon is the guy who was running it down in Springfield when I got promoted for the head job, and he was the first guy I talked to of saying, "Do you think I'm ready?" And he said, "Absolutely." And we talked for an hour, and it was a tremendous conversation with a man I have deep respect for. And then I got to thank Rob Riley. He was the first head coach that I got to be under. Very unique dynamic. When I first got the job, he handed me the keys to the car as far as responsibilities, and that doesn't happen very often. So being able to work under him, there was no ego, and he allowed me to grow very quickly. And so I wanted to thank him. There's going to be a lot of people that I miss. It was overwhelming, the text messages and phone calls I got, and man, talk about being humbled and just grateful for the people that have reached out. I think my son Ty and Faith had the text count going there last night. We had to put it away and go play a game of Dragons. That's what it was, right? What is it? Dragon Warrior, sorry. They beat me, but it's all good. And so I've missed some people, my mom, my dad. I could go on and on. My dad was emotional, couldn't even talk, so really neat moments. So thanks to all those that have reached out. I'm forever grateful for that, and everybody has a piece in where I'm at today. I'm sure there's a ton of questions, and just to say that I'm excited is probably a huge understatement for this opportunity. To be at this level and do it with the young men that I'm going to be involved with in the management staff, the ownership. It's going to be, I'm excited for the journey, so I'll just hand it over for questions now, and we'll go from there.
Okay, first question will go to Aaron Portsline, Madison, if you want to give him the mic.
Brad, congratulations on the job. What can you say about what it will be like under you as opposed to the previous coach, John Tortorella, and what does a Brad Larsen coach team look like to you? How do they play? What's the style?
Well, I'm sure we'll mention Torts' name a number of times here. I was with him for 6 years, and Torts is Torts. I mean, there's no, you don't try to copy a man's style at all. I think the advice I got when I took coaching was you always be true to yourself, and that's what I'm going to be. And I think as you get to know me, you're going to see that. I told these guys from the start, I'm my own man. I'd be a fool not to learn under somebody like Torts, and even go back to Todd Richards. I was with him, and he's a tremendous coach, and shared an office with Craig Hartsburg, who I have a tremendous amount of respect. So those were some of the things, the reasons why I came was to learn. as far as who I am, I'm firm but fair. I think I 100% believe in honesty, accountability. I think that's why Torts and I saw eye to eye so well. I've shared this many times. I probably will handle things differently than Torts just because that's who I am, and not because he was wrong and I was right, but that's who I am. And I enjoy the aspect of getting to know the athlete and creating relationships and valuing what they do. I know how hard it is to work, and I carved out it was a very spotty career, but I kind of mucked and grind to about 300 games in the NHL and 400 in the American League, and it was ugly most of the time. So, but I do know what it's like to be sent down. I do know what it's like to be your heart getting ripped out and telling you you're not good enough, and and then finally hearing that yes, and what that feels like. And that's the joys of coaching, is when you see progress with your players and you connect with them, and you're there to help, you're there to nurture and grow them, and not just as athletes all the time, but as people. I think that's the thing we forget about. There's such a human element here, and we put the jersey on, or they put the jersey on every night, and expectations are super high. So I think as a coaching staff, and I'm excited to do that and hire that, but understanding what those expectations feels like and how we can help them, how we can grow and bring people together. And the most rewarding thing is when you see a team come together and play with that fire, passion, and togetherness, and it's something special when you see it. So that's what I'm most excited about. And it's a simple question, but it's a long answer. We could be here for a long time telling you what that's going to look like, from practice habits to, I value conditioning, I value all these things, and there's a checklist about a mile long right now. But some of the players that have been under me, they understand who I am. I'm very approachable. I'm a guy that wants to create those relationships right away, and that's what I look forward to doing.
Edge, go ahead.
Brad, as a player, you learned about the transient nature of this profession. As a coach, you've been here the whole time with this organization anyway. Do you feel fortunate to have that be the case? I mean, usually that kind of sticks for coaches too, being transient, bouncing around until they make it. Does that add anything extra special to you climbing the ranks here and becoming the head coach?
Yeah, I think to have longevity anywhere, I think it requires a lot of reinventing yourself, a lot of hard work, a lot of support. Like from your family to your friends to the people you work with. There's I've been here longer than these guys and people around. It's my 11 years and going to 12, and so right away the first question, well, how is it going to be different? How's a different voice? That's the thing that keeps coming up. How are you going to be different than Torts, right? So I understand those questions. That makes total sense to me. But again, I think it's going to take time. Once you get to know me, you'll fully understand that. I think the players will fully understand that. But yeah, I take a lot of, I hate the word pride, because sometimes pride can be a real negative note to it, but I'm very proud of that we're still doing it here and with one organization, and been able to grow and within an organization, and excited to continue to grow and take this to the next level.
Next, we have a mic right here in the right.
This is for Jarmo. Jarmo, what are the expectations?
Every time we enter a new season, the expectation is to be able to compete for the Stanley Cup. And we've talked about the expectations. We've talked about a little bit of a reset that we had to do at the trade deadline. So we're going to grow. We're going to grow together with a new coach. We're going to grow together as an organization. I think we'll get a lot of internal growth, and we're going to have an exciting summer ahead of us here to be better once the season starts. But we expect to compete to make the playoffs, and once you make the playoffs, you compete to win the Stanley Cup.
Next, we'll go to Whitney in the center there.
This is for Brad. You've known these guys for a while, some of them longer than others, but you've known them in a different role than what you're going to be taking. Mm-hmm. Is there a challenge now stepping into that head coaching role, and what those relationships might be like with these guys that you've built already a relationship with?
Well, sure. Challenge probably isn't the word. It's just there's going to be change. I mean, when the good thing is I've been in both roles before. I was a young assistant and then went to head, and then I've been an assistant again, and now back as a head. So you don't change who you are as a person, I think, but now you're delivering hard messages. You're the one that's, we have meetings and you have final say, and the whole thing I totally believe in is collaboration, from management to my coaching staff. They're going to have a ton of responsibility and trust, and I want to build that with players. So, but someone has to deliver messages. Someone has to, when you're running practice, someone has to have the last say and stuff, and that will be me, with that collaborative thinking and process. So I will be different in certain ways just because it requires that. But I think who I am as a person will always stay the same, if that makes sense.
Next, we'll go to Jeff Svoboda in the front.
This one is for Lars. I read a story when you became the head coach in Springfield. You talked about how it was a dream to become an NHL head coach, but you knew it was going to be a process, and you'd have to go through a lot of learning through these years. That was about 10 years ago. Now you've done it as an AHL head coach, done it as an NHL assistant. I mean, how much do you think that process has helped you get ready for this opportunity, and how ready do you feel for this opportunity?
Well, one thing I've learned in this game, as a player now, as a coach, is there's no substitute for experience. There's just not. And going into coaching, I used to study coaches. I'd go in Hockey DB and look at their path and what they did and how many years it took them to get to the highest level as a head coach. And if you really study it and you look, the most successful coaches in this league, they took their time. There was no rush. And I've shared with both Jarmo and JD, the path that I took here wasn't to get to the NHL right away. Quite honestly, there was 3 real prominent head coaches that I talked to who told me to stay in the American League and stay as a head coach, and you'll be here in 3 to 4 years. But in my vision of that was, I'm not in a rush to be a head coach. I want to do it right. Under Rob Riley was an unbelievable experience, but I felt like I needed to come here, see the league, see the players, work under a staff, see the interaction between, management with head coach, and there's a lot of factors and layers that went into that. So for me, actually coming here was a step back, and it was the right move for me. I respected their opinions, but I thought for me I want to see it with my own eyes, not being the main guy, and so yeah, it was a dream. It's something that I felt like over time, if you do the right things, and hopefully you're in this position I'm in today and you get considered and you get the job. But there was no timetable on it. I shared with them earlier, I said, I'm not even interviewing for this. I'm not chasing a head coach job. I want to make sure that you feel like I'm the right guy. And if not, that's okay. I'll move on and we'll figure things out. But it was about being patient, and there's that patient endurance that goes into something like that. And I'm going to learn more now. I'm going to make mistakes, I promise you. But that's part of the process, and using your resources and maximizing them around you and putting really smart people with you.
Next, we'll go to Portian, middle left.
Question for Jarmo or JD, either one. I think no matter what happens with moves in the coming month or so, we can assume it's going to be a young team next year. The NHL is a young league. How important was it to have, you had a lot of great candidates, how important was it to have a teacher, a person who can teach at this level in this role, and how much did that make Brad an appealing candidate?
I think from my point of view, you in this situation, we have a lot of work to do. There's no question about that. We got a lot of work to do from now till the start of the following season, or the upcoming season. I think for me, you try to find a coach that's going to fit your team and your roster, and you're going to find a group of players that are going to be able to work with that particular coach. Then you have a meshing and a marriage, and away you go. And I thought this was a really good fit in my mind. I remember a few years ago, the New York Rangers had John Tortorella as coach, and he was let go. And also leaving New York was Mike Sullivan. And Mike Sullivan became a pretty good coach with the Penguins. And for us, knowing that the organization could draw from within is a good sign, is a really good sign. I'd like to thank all the other candidates, and a lot of them, it was really gratifying to talk to the other candidates for the job, how much they wanted to be in Columbus. It was really great. Obviously, we did our work, and Lars is certainly our choice, but to be able to bring someone from within that we feel is really capable and a leader, always has been a leader, is really good for us.
Add to that you talk about teaching, we talk about standard. and there's a high standard and culture in place here, and Brad's been a big part of that, what we've been building, and we know the standard will be high with him. He will teach, he will keep guys accountable, and it'll be a high standard every day, and that's how you get better as a team. Not only within one season, but moving into the future.
Next, we have Jeff in the front here.
Hi, congratulations, Coach. Of course, fans keep franchises running. There's been a lot of fan questions in the past half day, specifically over the performance of the power play.
Yep.
I'm curious to you how much fan opinion and fan questions and criticism means. And then to a greater question to JD and Yarmo, how do on-ice results among all the factors factor into this decision?
Well, criticism is part of the job. I mean, you know, I said this from day one. If you don't meet these things head on, then don't take the job. You can do something else. So I absolutely understand, you know, where the power play's been at the last several years here. And trust me, the players, coaches, everybody. And this is what I share with people all the time. You know, you might have your name on it, but we're all collaborating. We're all trying to find a solution to get it better. The players want to make it better. We want to make it better. It's not there. This is where I get excited about building a staff. And you know, I have some thoughts and ideas, but bringing in some, I say, the best people possible, and looking for a power play guy, looking for a penalty kill guy. I welcome experience if it's the right fit. So fans are passionate. You know, they want to win. They want to have success. Guess what? So do we. That's what we do. It's about winning. And so as far as criticism, there's going to be much more of it ahead. That's, you know, you're in the crosshairs right away as a head coach, and especially when things don't go well. So it's more of an understanding. You know, do I take and read everything? I don't. I'm in the room. I know what's going on. I have a very good idea, and our staff and management, that's the opinions we value most. But I certainly understand the passion of trying to win and frustrations when it's not going well. So we're going to exhaust it. You know, it's going to be an area of focus. And again, there's a lot of thoughts that I have with it, but I look forward to meeting some of these candidates, and when we narrow it down to the right guy, that'll be a focal point for sure.
Well, he asked another question also just regarding the on-ice. We're in the business of winning, and I think we all want that. The fans want it, management want it, the players certainly want it, training staff wants it. You have to build a team to be able to do that. And we've talked a lot about what we have ahead of us. We have some terrific players that belong to us that are on our staff, or on our roster right now. We've got young people coming, we've got draft picks coming. It's all about putting together that team to get to where you want to go to, but there's no easy way to get there. So we started today. Brad Larsen's our coach. We've got a long, hard, good, very interesting summer ahead of us to try to develop a stronger roster, and we're going to roll up our sleeves. That's all I can promise you. That's what we're going to do.
I have a quick one, and then one you can kind of expand on. The quick one would be, is the 2-mile conditioning run going to survive the coaching transition?
Oh, there's a group back here that hopes it is gone and eliminated right away. No, I'm going to sit with Kevin, the head strength coach. We're going to discuss some things and just kind of let it die down here first. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of being in shape, you know, and not anything foolish. But I think it's important that if you want to play the game fast and you want to play it hard, and you're talking preseason 82 games and hopefully the long exhausting run of a playoff, you have to invest in your body. You have to invest in conditioning, and there's a lot in the season. There's that fine line of overdoing it and draining your players. You certainly don't want to do that, but you have to invest in practice. It's an important part, and when we're on there, we do things right, and we do it the right way every day, and we're creatures of habit. That's what we are, and the more you do it right, you know, it's not about being perfect, but doing it right and investing in it. You have a way better chance of success. So as far as the 2-mile run specifically, that'll be TBD.
You know, when people, I think now look at this team, look at this roster, the words reload or rebuild or whatever get thrown around a lot. Where do you see this roster? How would you, when you look at it as in its current state right now, where do you think you guys are?
Well, it's current, and like JD just said, this, we haven't hit the draft, we haven't hit free agency, we have, so what we see now could look a whole lot different in September. We don't know. So to comment something that we don't really know what it's going to look like is, I think, a little bit premature, right? So we could be talking and go X, Y, Z, and then all of a sudden in 3 weeks, the landscape looks much different. So, that's part of their job as management, and again, we're going to collaborate and see where we're at here, and then I think we'll have a better picture of what it's going to look like. So right now, I'm excited. I mean, I'm a first-time head coach. So I'm excited, regardless. But I know these players. I know last year didn't go as well as we wanted, and it's a fresh slate for a lot of guys, and that's what I'm excited about, because we are going to have energy, we're going to have passion. I'm all about that, and when I hire my staff, they're all going to be, it'll probably be different energy because I have a lot of it, but that's a good, healthy thing, and I think that's going to be the balance we're going to need.
Next, we'll go to Porty.
Hey, Brad, if you've been through this process before interviewing for a head coaching position, and I'm wondering, I guess as a second part of that, what is it like to interview 3 times with people you already know?
Yeah, my wife kept, what do they want to know about you now? It was a fair question. I've been under the, for an interview with a head coach at the American League level. As it said, there was potentially some opportunities coming here where I was going to do the same thing, but this was the first, and this was, like I said, it was very extensive, very detailed, very, there wasn't any stone left unturned, let's put it that way. So it was, when you're in front of 6 people, even though you know them, it's like they're looking at you through different lenses now. It's one thing to be an assistant coach. That's a whole nother role when, and I understand being an assistant coach, you're there, a support system, you give your input, but at the end of the day, the leader's going to go out and he's having the tough conversations, he's the one directing it, and so now that flips. So of course they're going to be extensive, and they're going to ask you, and there's a lot of questions that you don't get as an assistant coach that you do get as a head, and what it's going to look like. And I told these guys from the start, I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I think humility is a big part of being a head coach. It's not my way or the highway. It's not, it's not putting a system in play right now and getting 2 assistants and going, this is how we're going to play. I want to hear what they have to say. I think that's important. That's how you empower your coaches and make them part of the process. And I want to listen to the players. I think that's important nowadays. It's a different landscape than it was 15 years ago. I think, they're not going to dictate how we play, but I think getting information and listening is, my wife has been very good about 2 years in one mouth and teaching me that lesson. So listening skills are real important, and doing better at it. So I'm gonna be listening a lot here in the near, probably next several weeks.
Next, we'll go to Whitney.
This is for Yarmo and JD, kind of what Brad was just saying, a new landscape, things are different. How important was it for you guys to bring in or hire a guy who maybe could relate to some of these younger players, because you're going to have so much young talent coming in? There's a lot of it sitting behind us here. So how important was that to have a guy who could relate? And it sounds like you got a good volunteer assistant over here, by the way.
Yeah, it was important, obviously, and we know he's a really good communicator. So that's our interviews, and extensive they were a lot about, we know Lars, but what would he do differently, and that's how we kind of put it in different areas, and he convinced us. We know he's his own man, we know his character, we know all those things, and we wanted to get into more specifics about how is this going to change, how is this going to change, and how you're going to go about this, and he gave us all the answers that satisfied us and got us through the decision, and he's got all those qualities that we were looking for in a new head coach.
What's really important too is we've already started talking this morning about the staff that Brad's going to put together, and he's already mentioned power play and penalty kill. That is going to be very important for how we work as a group, working with our players as a group. So I think there's again, as I said, a lot of work ahead of us, but it's exciting. We've now made this choice. We feel it's a very strong choice. The communication skills from Brad are exceptional. His love of the Blue Jackets in Columbus is way up the ladder. There was a lot of very, very, very positive things. So, again, we have to get together with Brad, find a staff, get together with our players, and keep the standards high and go forward.
Open it up to a couple of questions through our folks on Zoom. So first question will go to Clay Hall. Go ahead, Clay.
Lars, congratulations. Happy for you. How much influence can you have on the Seth Jones situation, if any, or do you feel like the ship has sailed, or how will you work with him going forward?
Well, obviously, I'm going to reach out to Seth, but those conversations will stay private all the way through. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jonesy, his game, him as a person. He checks a lot of the boxes, so we'll see what transpires there. But I intend to reach out to him here sooner than later.
Next, we'll go to Mark Scheig. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Lars. Just some of the lessons that you learned from last year, given how crazy everything was, like what did you take out of it specifically?
Well, lessons in a pandemic year, it's a whole nother bag of lessons you're learning. I go back to that. There's no substitute for experience. I don't think anybody could have predicted the landscape of last year and what that was going to look like. Last year was interesting to me because the pandemic was what it was, and every team went through it. But I took it as a real opportunity to just sit back and watch, assess that way. A lot's revealed in real critical, intense times about character, and I think watching each individual player, how they responded, was important to me, and it's personal information. That's stuff that I have. I wrote a journal pretty much all last year about different things that went on. So that was the uniqueness of it. It wasn't just a tough year. It was a tough year on top of all these other dynamics. And you can learn a lot about people when you watch them really closely, in the gym, on the ice. What are they doing to help themselves? Like these are real important tangibles when you want to be a winning team. So that's something I was learning. Again, it's not a lot of information I'm going to share with you, but it's something I watch very closely.
And next, we'll go back to Clay Hall. Go ahead, Clay.
I'm sorry, I did not lower my hand. Anything else you want to add, Lars, maybe that hasn't been asked, or a point of emphasis, or just where you think you can take this team?
Nice recovery, Clay.
Yeah, that was a recovery for sure. I'm gonna leave with this. John Tortorella, I owe him a lot, and I'm sure I'll get more questions on him. But people to thank and men to thank. The fact that he saw something in me. Torts came here and he inherited me. He didn't hire me. So being around him, I was, again, this is a great lesson for me. I was a little leery too when he first got hired. What am I getting into? And I called another coach that had coached with him, and his first words were, "You are going to effing love him." And that kind of helped me, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And within the first week, I could tell him and I were going to see eye to eye on a lot of things as far as the standard and valuing work ethic and just a better understanding of passion for winning. The road splits there and probably how we deal with certain things, but getting to know him over the last 6 years, not just as a coach, that he trusted me, he empowered me, he grew me, but as a man, I wish everybody could get to know him how I did. He's just... He's a special man. Let's put it that way. It means a lot to me and my family, and I will be forever in his debt.
Okay, last one from Zoom. We'll go back to Mark Scheig unless you did the same thing, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I did not do the same thing.
Well done.
Thank you. For Yarmo or JD, either one, I know, Yarmo, you mentioned that the most important thing was to get the right coach for this team to set the standard. Now that that's out of the way, what do you consider to be the next most important thing that your team needs to do in this offseason?
Well, we're well into our training now. That's really important for the group that we have here. I think that was one of the things that I'm not so sure that we were as well prepared this year as we've normally been. I think that the standard's been always real high, and the way the fall went, and we were waiting for the season to start. We've been a hard team to play against, grinding, in great shape, prepared, 100%. I'm not so sure that we were there for many different reasons for the start of the year this year. So I think this offseason needs to be great for all of our players. But as a management staff, we're going to have a busy summer. We got draft meetings coming up soon. We got 3 first-round picks, nine picks altogether that we can do a lot of different things with. I've already talked to several of the general managers in the league that have protection problems in the expansion draft, and they're eyeing those picks like they're very hungry for our first-round picks. I can tell you that, and we could do a lot of things with them if we think that it makes sense for us now and into the future. We're not going to trade them for a 35-year-old player that could help us next season, no matter how good that player would be. But and then we get the expansion draft before the draft. We have free agency opening up just a few days after the draft. So we're going to be busy. There's no off season for the management, and we've been right at it, and we'll be going at it all summer long.
If I could just mention one thing too, in going through the interview process with Brad, his Rolodex is quite extent, and he talked to us a fair amount about present and former NHL coaches that he has relationships with, that he can call and get advice from and ask questions about. And I've always liked that. I don't think there's anybody in the game who should take a shortcut. And when you reach out and talk to these people, maybe, Brad, you can mention who you talk to if you want to, but I like that attitude. Open-minded, deal with people who have been around the block. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, just 3 names, those coaches. I talked to Todd McClellan, Ken Hitchcock, and Mike Babcock. I had Babs in a short-term tournament. He's the one who made me the captain for the World Junior team, for Team Canada. Todd I had in junior for 3 years when he was kind of just coming. And I loved him as a coach and kind of followed him up and really respected him. Again, that's where a resume that I looked at, I go, that's an unbelievable path of growth. And Hitch, when I first started here as a young coach, he was let go as a head, but he was kind of mentoring me and he was helping me. And if you've ever sat with Hitch, he's a wealth of knowledge. Let's put it that way. Very smart and enthusiastic. He was excited. I was very grateful that he was just excited to sit with me and share ideas, because I was just starting to get my feet on the ground here as a coach. So those are just 3, but there's more that I reach out to. But I feel so blessed to have people like that, resources. Again, it's not about ego. It's how do you get better, how do you improve, and I expect to reach out to more coaches just on different aspects of coaching in the NHL and what it looks like.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to you folks who joined us on Zoom. For everyone here, we're going to take a couple of minutes, take a few photos, and then if there's any need for some individual stuff, or if you want to talk to any of the guys, let Glenn know, and we'll work with you on that. Thanks again for coming. It's great to see everybody.